Welcome to episode 38. I can't believe it, 38. And we're at the end of the year. This is the last one for 2022. I'm just going to do a recap and go over some of the things that have happened during 2022. Also, quickly talk you through maybe doing some quick planning for the new year of 2023 and what comes next. Maybe some fast forwarding of your healing. Welcome to the Mindfuckery podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth, author of Finding Lily and the A to Z of emotional abuse. I'm here to remind you that love should be unconditional. Divorcing emotionally is life-changing and that you have a duty of care to yourself. Each week, I will discuss some of the terms you may hear along this journey, and I will help you understand and process what's happening. I will help you find the best habits as you start to take back the control of your own life and learn the tools to heal on a deeper level, becoming the best version of yourself. So that was 2022. How is it for you? I'm going to do a quick overview of what happened for me and how I feel. I'm also going to include maybe some ideas of what you can do today because Mercury goes into retrograde. I'm recording this a day late. Normally I've done it on a Tuesday, or I might sometimes do it on a Monday evening going into Tuesday. But I got caught up with everything that's Christmas and I was exhausted yesterday, and I had planned to get up yesterday morning and record it, but I actually stayed somewhere else, so I wasn't where all my recording equipment was, and then I was doing some bits to my book. So in the end, I ended up doing more work on my book and knowing that I was going to get up and do the podcast this morning a day late. So I'm recording this on Wednesday the 28th. So I'm going to talk about that because Mercury goes into retrograde today. So if you're going to do any planning for 2023, do it today if you listen to this, or sit and play with it over the next month because it comes out of retrograde on the 18th. And I haven't looked it up, but around about that sort of date is the Chinese New Year. Okay, so I just quickly paused the recording to go and have a look. And the Chinese New Year is the 22nd of January, and it will be the year of the rabbit. I found personally that the Chinese New Year is a really powerful time to set intentions, to set goals and plan what you would like to happen. I did a whole podcast, no I didn't, I did a blog on whether resolutions work, and that was quite a few years ago now, and I think we tend to sort of maybe punish ourselves for not doing something or something not happening in the way that we wanted to do it, maybe giving up things. It's more of a punishment, or it can be seen maybe in the subconscious more of a punishment. So it's a really powerful time to sit down at the moment and sort of think, what would I like to happen? How would I like to feel? What would I like to feel like? So I wrote an email the other day. If you're not on my email list, go to my website and you can join there. And I was talking about how I was setting my intentions for 2023, and I was saying that I could feel this wind of change. Things were beginning to happen, and when I was doing it, it was the new moon. So instead of waiting until the end of the month to look at what I want to achieve in 2023, I was doing it early. And what I was saying in that was I follow Astro Butterfly, and I've followed her for quite a few years now, and she was saying that the new moon was a really good time because when we get to the end of the year on the 31st, we'll already be in retrograde. I found this year I've just bobbed along. Doesn't seem to be much momentum that's taken place. So I look back and I've looked at the highs and lows, and I don't really remember much of the first couple of months. And then I decided, and I'd been putting this off for about 18 months. I was going to launch a podcast, and I can't remember what the other name was, but I went for Mindfuckery. I thought it sums up everything, and it's such a good word, Mindfuckery. You don't need to put much thought into understanding what it might be about. So I launched that. I did a Schitt's Creek soft launch, and then managed to get away. I'd managed to get away in February. I managed to get over to the Isle of Wight. We had a big house on the edge of a cliff, and it was cold and wet in February. That was great fun, and I thought that was probably going to be what I was going to do. Just going to go and do more UK travel, but things started to happen, and I ended up moving, and I was at my daughter's, and she said to me, do you fancy going away? And so we managed to book a little trip to Greece, and then that shortly followed another little trip to Greece. So it was all these things that I said, it just felt it was bobbing along. Things were just sort of, moving. I've been trying out a laptop lifestyle this year. Travel, I love, and I get much more done when I'm away than I do when I'm in the UK. I don't know why. Although I was up in Gloucestershire a few weeks ago and I achieved quite a lot then. So what I started to look at was, what I want to do of 2023. And I can't think what Astro Butterfly was saying now. She was saying it isn't about cramming more in. It's about seeing what's really important and reducing. So my questions to you, if it's something that you want to create or do today on the 28th, look at your highs and your lows. What worked really well for you and what didn't work so well. I ended up in between moving and going away. My rabbit, Teddy, we lost him. He was staying with some friends and I popped in for the weekend to see them because I was going away again. And he just put his head down shortly after I got there and went to sleep. It was really sad. I do miss him a lot. I still go into the supermarket and think, oh, if I get that and realise I haven't got him. It was completely unexpected. There's so many different things that happened. So that, there was a low, and then I was away, and then I ended up going on a sailing course which hadn't been planned and completely unexpected, and spending a week in Corfu, and before then went to another part of Greece, and then I did some internal flights to get to Corfu. So this is about going in. What are your highs and what are your lows? And this is about acknowledging, and if you feel you need to grieve part of it, grieve part of your life, grieve part of the year, that's a really good way of processing what's happened. What do you want your 2023 to look like? And what big plans would you have for it? And what small plans, what things, how would you like to feel? And it's start journaling around this. The end of this year, I've started to look at the Queen archetype. And it started with a podcast on the Queen, which it sort of included the Queen's Gambit. I've been talking about chess for the last 3 or 4 years. I've been talking about how abusive relationships are really a game, and this manipulation and how supply is really like chess pieces. And I think this is how over a period of months I got to this podcast on the Queen's Gambit. And it's the same in my YouTube videos as well. I've spoken about the pawn. They could be the children, and then you've got the bishop and the knights. Give them more supply, so they might be people at work or people they interact with that feed them in a certain way. And that if you were or you might even still be their intimate partner, you are the queen. And it doesn't matter if you're male or female, you're the queen. And then I started talking about how the queen actually, when I started looking at it, was the most powerful piece on the board, and taking and looking at our energy. And so the last couple of months I've been talking about the queen and her energy. So in the last podcast, if you haven't had a chance to listen to that, at the end I took that queen archetype and created that into a meditation, or a form of meditation and visualization for you to step in your power. Could step into the queen power and create 2023. I did an hour-long meditation for Christmas Eve, which again you can pick up, you can break down into sections. And in fact, I might just go back and put some timings on the YouTube video thinking about it, because then people, if they just want to do their sacral chakra, or they want to work on their heart and balance their heart chakra, that is there. They can just break it down into sections. This time of year, I was talking about, I saw a post from someone. It was really powerful. It was an image of a young girl or woman sat under a tree in a hole, like a rabbit hole or a warren, and there was a bear in a different part, and I think there was a hare or rabbit there as well. And it's about how we need to go in, and this time of year is about going in. And about balancing our energy and protecting us. This is our hibernation. Other animals hibernate. Have you ever felt, I mean, it's something that I just wish that I could do, is to hibernate. Either that, or I did joke with someone, but actually I'm quite serious about it. I was at a party a few weeks ago, and it was really cold and horrible. And when we got there, and I said to her, I'm sure somebody has read my instructions, my joining instructions, incorrectly when I came down on and landed on Earth, and it said that I should be kept in a warm, dry place, and I ended up in the UK. And it isn't the coldest part that I live in. There are colder parts, but it is cold and wet and horrible. And I just want to go to sleep. I just want to curl up and go to sleep. So things for 2023 for me, I love travel. I love traveling. And I've literally just been talking to somebody this morning. She's just landed in Bali. I've been being nudged at the moment. I just absolutely adore the heat, and I adore, although it is my hair wasn't that keen on it when I was last there. It went really fuzzy. So if you think about Monica from Friends when they did the Caribbean trip, that's what I look like when I get out there. However, I don't know whether Bali's on my list of things to do, but I'm starting to pull together a plan. The biggest thing is going to be, I've got 2 books now that I've more or less finished. I will name it next week. The new book on divorce planning. It's going to be a practical guide to to helping you work through a divorce process. It's designed for divorce, but it could be a negotiation. If you weren't in marriage, it will help you with children, with finances and assets and things like that, because that power is taken away from you, and there's a lot of manipulation that goes on. It could be that you're forced through the divorce really quickly if you haven't healed, and you're working from different wounds, waiting for closure in a way, hoping that they might come back, or they might drag the whole process out and they don't want to negotiate. They won't send the paperwork in. They will sit on any payments. It's a book that will help you to focus your mind and to ask questions. And it's, in a way, I think I wrote in the intro, I'm giving you permission. It's like a permission to ask these questions. And it's so that you can say, well, I've been asked to get this information. I've been told I need this information, because you will be hit with, we don't need solicitors. We can sort this all out ourselves. Why are you doing this? Who are you listening to? Who's advising you of this information? It's to test you. And if you mentally and emotionally don't divorce from the abuser, they've still got this attachment. They've still got this way in, like that little earworm. And so that is something that I'm working on. I was hoping to have it all done and dusted and ready to launch in the very beginning of January. But for some reason, the editor, I can't use the woman that I used to edit the A to Z of emotional abuse. She's moved and she's not doing it anymore. I've been searching to find someone, so I'm still waiting for a reply at the moment from someone else now who's been recommended to me. I've got the cover sorted and the guy's waiting for the information. I'm hoping sometime in January that I will have that launched. That is me for 2022. It was a year that I felt I bobbed along. I just kept my head above water. Things happened that I wasn't expecting to happen. I ended up in places I didn't expect, some good, some bad. With this laptop lifestyle, I didn't know that was going to happen in January. And then it was like, well, what do I do? Should I take a step out of life? And could I get this to work for me? So I'm still playing with that. To me, it's let's see what happens. And as I said, today, the 28th, depending on when you're listening to this, today, the 28th, is when we start to go into retrograde. So if you want to get something down on paper, start scribbling and set your intentions. Another good time will be January with the Chinese New Year. So it might be that we're coming out of retrograde for a few days. We're going into the Chinese New Year. That energy changes a few days before. My life is about energy. We are all a bunch of chemicals held together in our skin. And it's about not just managing, but acknowledging and saying, do you know what? It's okay. It's okay to feel crap today. I give myself permission to have to feel crap. Acknowledging that actually changes the way you feel about something. I think there's a lot to be said about giving ourselves permission to go and have a nice bath or to go for a nice walk. Have you ever done that? Have you ever sat? I remember doing this years and years ago. I sat with like a writer's block, or I've sat feeling I can't do anything, I can't get anywhere, nothing's happening. You might sat at your desk at work and nothing's happening, I can't shift this, and you got up and you walked around. You might have gone for a walk down to the shop, or you might have just taken yourself out into the garden, and it just changes that focus, and all of a sudden everything flows. And this is about us managing our energy and our expectations and how we feel about ourselves. I don't know what your 2022 was. Did you bob along like me? Did you have highs and lows? Was this not the year that you thought it was going to be? Did it totally blow your whole expectation of your life? What do you want for 2023? Sit down. You can sit down with a piece of paper, carry it around for a few days, jotting things down, looking, maybe mood board it or dream board it, set your intentions. I'd like to live in this part of the world. I'd like to live in a house that looked like this. I'd like to drive this car, but it doesn't all have to be materialistic. How would you like to feel? I'd like to feel nurtured. I'd like to feel cared for. I'd like to feel supported. I'd like to feel powerful. So start looking. Something else I used to do years and years ago was a word for the year, and I haven't done it for a couple of years. Anyway, so that for me is 2022. It was that year that I bobbed along. 2023, as I said, Astro Butterfly said it's not about cramming more in. It's about stepping back and realising what's important, putting the focus on that. So I'm sending you loads and loads and loads of love for whatever celebrations you've got over the next week. Sending you loads and loads of love until next time.